Hello, I'm Nightmaaron, and welcome back to the letter. So, it's been a while since we jumped back into this. I kind of let it go for a little while, which I shouldn't have. But we're still playing Marianne, and we're headed to the Ermengarde mansion. So, let's get into it. Riding to the Ermengarde mansion in their rice is an awkward affair. Not only am I worried about scuffing the expensive leather seats, but I'm also worried about getting in the middle of another couple's spat. With the tension thick in the air, I can feel them starting at each other anytime. Nobody is saying anything. Up until Mr. Wright tells his valet to turn the damn radio off. And for a moment, I think that he might start. But instead, he just stays quiet, and so do the rest of us. In the end, the sufferable silence stays. I have never been so glad to see a house. Stepping out of the car and up to the mansions meant the end of an uncomfortable ride, and I can finally take a deep breath of fresh air. The beauty of the place never fails to make me gaze and wonder every time I see it as well. Mrs. Wright moves towards the front door, key in hand, and I can already hear Mr. Wright plotting.
All right, Hans, we're going to go in, but I want you to look around the place. Familiarize yourself with it. Know every nook and cranny. Every inch of the lot. Go and see where we can put that vineyard and the other things we talked about. We'll want to know where to station security as well, so go around the perimeter and figure it out.
Scout the property and circle the perimeter on foot. You do know this is 46 acres of land, sir.
Well, you are not driving the car over the grass. Put those long, spidery legs of yours to good use. I didn't hire you to stand around and look intimidating. Go, mush.
Asshole. Someday, I'd like to ask how Johannes can even stand and tolerate the man. Why doesn't he just quit? Certainly the pay can't be that good. Even I'm a bit put off by our mutual employer. And the only thing that keeps me from bailing is the fact that we've already signed a contract. At least I'll be working with him during the duration of the project. He works with them every day.
Sometimes I think you hired me to make me suffer for your amusement.
Someday, I'd ask. I feel a bit bad for him. If it's any consolation, he'll be away from Mr. Wright, if only for a little while. We're able to enter the mansion after a bit of standing out there in the sun. This wretched, strange sunlight is far too alien and rare. There had been a bit of a problem with the missus not knowing which key was which. The first item on the agenda would be the grand staircase. It seemed sturdy during the open house, but closer inspection might say otherwise. There are no obvious marks of damage nor wear and tear, probably rethreaded during the renovations. Peeking under the grand carpet, the wood is properly installed with the bark placed down to prevent cupping. The carpet itself could use a vacuum though. Structural conditions, from what I can see without actually dismantling the thing, look to be in good shape, and the handrails and support posts are firm. The work on it should be commended. I can't look much more into the rest of the foyer, however, because Mr. Wright starts to hurry us in checking in the dining hall.
So, what do you think? Certainly we can't turn this area into a garage.
It's Jacobean architecture. I'd say these would be pilasters and not buttresses, but you never really know. They really liked mixing up these elements. You could say it was pretty avant-garde at the time. We might hit a support beam if we're not careful.
And in layman's terms?
From what I see here, we could risk great damage to the house if we try to turn the dining hall into a garage.
The man didn't look too pleased at this. There's a look of disappointment before he sighs and looks around the place with an air of defeat. When he moves to speak, I dread another unreasonable demand again.
This will stay a dining hall then. But if I may have another request instead, at least spruce the place up with some flowers, some plants or something. It feels so old and dead in here.
With good reasoning.
That's hardly unreasonable. Daffodils are a must, I presume.
The look that passes between the two of them, there is a genuine look of fondness there. This is the first time I've seen such an exchange between the two of them. If anyone are to see them like this, there is little doubt that they loved each other.
Of course, and I want a garden full of them. Now, if you excuse me, I'd like to look at the rest of the house. I'll just be around here downstairs, if anybody needs me.
That leaves Mrs. Wright and I.
He's quite fond of them, you know.
I can imagine. He looked terribly upset when we told him he can't have his garage.
I meant the daffodils. We always have a vase full of them in every house we own. Somewhere, I'd like to think. They may be about his mother. He never talks about her. I don't even know her name. He likes to flatter, claim that they remind him of me, but he's always loved the flowers, even before we married.
Much like the piano, I didn't take him for a person who liked flowers. Daffodils, least of all. What's next? Am I going to find out that Mr. Wright saves kittens from burning buildings?
I'll go and snoop about upstairs. You go and do whatever it is that you have to do.
When she goes without even asking if I need her here, I'm left standing to stare at the walls. Really, I don't need to do a thorough inspection of the building itself. It isn't really a part of an interior designer's job. But the architect in me is committed to doing the task with every project. If I'm going to make a living space that have both form and function, I might as well make sure that the entirety of it is safe for my clients. Since I'm already here, I roam around the dining hall to check things off my punch list, if you will. But when it's time to move on, I hesitate. Mr. Wright said he would be somewhere around here on the ground floor, and I really didn't want to be alone with whiskey. I have to look through the place eventually, sure, but on the other hand, I can do it later when he's gone. I can go upstairs first if I want to. Which floor should I go to first? We're going to check the ground floor, or the first floor. I've already seen enough of this floor during the open house. Of course, I know that it's just a convenient excuse. I just don't want to be in the same room as whiskey anytime soon. So I might as well just go upstairs first. The banisters on the grand staircase landing are solid and proper height. Any lower, they would be trouble. There's a small catch on the carpet though, but as long as nobody tries to run down the stairs until it gets fixed, things should be alright. In the stained glass art, restored no doubt in the image of the last lady and lord of Ermengarde. Or it was supposed to be, until Lady Charlotte's fiancé was brutally murdered. By a witch of all things, from what I've read. You'd think historians of this place would be a lot more scrutinizing filtering out stuff like that. I'm amazed they bothered with it instead of replacing it with some generic cookie cutter design. The entire piece alone would cost roughly 500, even £1 million. Lady Charlotte Ermengarde and her beloved. Looking at the mosaic, it's not too far of a stretch of the imagination to believe that the depicted images could be Mr. and Mrs. Wright. It can be easily assumed as such if one doesn't know the history of the mansion. Really, a place like this should be protected by the government as a landmark. But what can I do about it? Walking into the East Wing, I try and go into the theater, but is met with an obstacle. The obstacle, that is, locked doors. The two, and both of them are locked. I'd be frustrated, would be, if I already hadn't snuck off while the Wrights were having their little business meeting with Miss Cooper before to take a peek. With what Mr. Wright wanted, we'd have to install a powerful projector, the type they use in cinemas, and a projection screen. The seats would have to be reupholstered if they're to be any comfortable, and the walls will have to be covered in dark material, paint, wallpaper, or install wall-to-wall carpeting. Really, of all the rooms I could be jealous of, it's this one. I could just picture myself there watching old kung fu flicks on a weekend-long marathon. That'd be cool to have your own, cinema in your house. That'd be really awesome. Makes me wonder what kind of movies Mrs. Wright would like. Rom-coms, perhaps? Her husband, on the other hand, I'd rather not think about it. In the middle of my notation and planning, I don't even realize that I'm not alone until I'm caught standing in front of a locked door like a fool.
Were you meaning to go in there? I'm afraid we won't be able to open it up today.
Oh well, I wanted to, but it's fine. I can still survey the rest of the place.
Apologies, but a key was missing when they were handed over. They told us that they'd get right back to us with it.
What? But aren't they supposed to hand over all the keys once property changes hands? That can be grounds to file a complaint.
They were already kind enough to let us move in so early. There's no need to raise a fuss about it. Worst comes to worst, we can call for a locksmith.
The air is heavy and somber when she grows quiet and glances out the window. out towards the vast expanse that surrounded what would be their house, their home. Then she looks back at me with a sigh and a bitter smile.
Flowers. Yellow flowers. Daffodils, dandelions, and sunflowers and the sort all up front. Just a whole garden of them. They'll make the house look lovely, won't they?
Of course. A garden is a wonderful addition to any home.
As I say this, her eyes roam over me, scrutinizing and thoughtful. I have to hold back the shiver that threatens to run down my spine at being inspected so closely.
Yes, it must be nice.
We're still talking about the gardens, yes?
I mean, not having to worry about what another person thinks of you.
What do you mean by that?
She lifts her hand and points to her wedding ring before it falls listlessly to her side.
Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I didn't marry Luke. There'll be no fights about walk-in closets or silly helipads. I could do with this place as my heart desires until there's nothing but content. Then again, I wouldn't have bought this place if it wasn't a gift for him. I probably wouldn't even be in Luxbourne if it wasn't for him. Maybe I would have moved to London, Manchester, or Birmingham. I might have even left the country altogether. France, Germany, Spain, Canada, Sweden, even America. The possibilities would have been endless.
I don't know what to say to that. What is there to say?
I'm sorry, I must sound so petty and ungrateful. I do love him. So very much, even if he can be a bit difficult at times.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just confused why you're telling me this, of all people.
Just a whim, I think. Just flights of fancy, that's all. Don't you ever think about one decision you've made in your life and wonder how much would change if you chose to do things differently?
I have.
I try not to dwell on the past, ma'am.
The key word is try, of course. Thinking of past brings up too many ghosts. Memories of her. And I do wonder what would change if I just said yes when she asked for me. Maybe she'd still be with me. I return to the present, just like I said, I try not to dwell on the past. Why don't you decide on your own? You must have been quite the pair. Her worries seem simple enough. I mean, it doesn't have to be difficult as she makes it out to be, right?
Why don't you decide on your own?
I meant nothing against Mr. Wright, of course, though whiskey buggered me to no end. By law, she would be the owner of the house. Well, unless they signed a joint property ownership anyway, which is a rare thing, as far as I know, especially among these highbrow types. Sure, they could actually love their spouse, I don't doubt the possibility, but money is money, and it makes people do the most horrible things sometimes.
It's your house. You can paint the whole place pink if you want, and there's not much he can do.
The somber expression she has changes to a look of contempt.
I could, but we are husband and wife. Equal partners in marriage, Marianne, though I can see that you don't understand. This is his home as much as it is mine. I'm not going to go behind his back over a room. And how dare you suggest that?
Oh, I picked the wrong thing. How do I even talk her down without causing further offense? It's in my attempt to shake off my own drama that I end up tripping right into theirs. Because really, I have no business meddling in the affairs of my clients unless it's involved interior design or architecture. Yet here I am, opening my mouth and yapping. I do hate to see a good woman down.
That's not what I meant by it. I just mean that maybe you don't have to get the approval of your husband all the time. Or well, okay, fine. I know nothing about married life, Mrs. Wright. You're right about that. But I still think you're allowed your indulgences every now and then.
Of course, my form of indulgence meant buying old slate 78 RPM country records. Records which I don't even dare use with my gramophone. For her, it could be very well buying entire houses.
That's just my take on it. A perfect relationship is as rare as hen's teeth. You got what you got. I mean, you're doing well enough without my advice. Sure, look it.
That look placates her somewhat. She looks away and starts to favor the view outside once more with a faraway look in her eyes.
Feel free to look around the rest of the house. Everything but the theatre should be open. Just call if there's need of me.
Of course, Mrs. Wright.
I really shouldn't have opened my big mouth in the first place. This sort of thing only gets me in trouble. Keep it clean, keep it simple, and stick to business. That's it. Be professional. But I fail to do that just because of a pretty face. When she turns to leave, she glances back at me before disappearing into the foyer. I look out the window from where she was standing, and I move on, alone with nothing but my thoughts and her.
Finally, some peace and quiet. Thought the old biddy would never leave.
It's utter madness, this hearing things. I reckon it's the stress, though I don't know exactly what I'm stressed about. If meeting Mrs. Wright has really thrown me through a loop, I'd be worried. If I'm developing some sort of psychosis or disorder, well, I'd call a doctor. But hopefully it isn't that, not right here and not right now. I mean, it could just be that personal talking cricket, the conscience, so to speak, and I'm only noticing now, though if it isn't very helpful. Pushing the dilemma of voices in my head aside, I go back to work. But I can barely make it a few steps before everything tilts and shifts. I don't really stumble, but I feel like I'm being thrown off my feet, and the rest of the world just follows. Though my feet stay firmly on the ground, and even if I stay mostly upright, I feel like I've been heaved and put off balance. I have to close my eyes in the hopes of willing the sudden sense of vertigo away, but when I open them, well, I don't feel any less sick because of the sight that greets me. Blood dripping from the walls and ceiling, pooling downwards and seeping into the curtains and carpet. A wave of nausea stronger than the last hits me along with the overpowering stench of blood and gore. I want to bolt. The rational part of my head is telling me to flee. And I would have gladly done as it asked, if only I didn't hear her.
In here, Marion. Come on, I have something to show you.
I could have ignored it, would have ignored it, if only I'd heard it in my head. But I swear that this time it's coming from one of the rooms. Much further into the study, and I feel compelled to pay attention. I can't just turn around and leave. Not when it's her. I don't even think as I follow the sound of her voice. Lorraine. Lovely Amanda Lorraine. I'm not even going to try and say that. She was my friend. The only one I had at St. Samanthan's. I was a scholar, the charity case in a school of privileged and prestigious young girls. They all looked down at me, as if they cared to look at me or acknowledge my presence at all. All except her.
Oh, stop your crying. You know better than to listen to Maeve. Why, I ought to teach that butterface a lesson.
Wait, no, lass! I don't want you getting into trouble with the sisters again!
Relax. It's not like I'm going to stomp her and her lackey's arses flat like last time.
Come on, let's just go back to our dorm room. I don't want to be on my Tobler while you go get yourself punished.
You'll be fine. Gip's there with you.
Lorraine was there when I needed her, through my highs and lows. Having her as a friend made being in a strange school away from my father all the more tolerable. She saw this poor, helpless girl who was kept down and shunned by everyone else, and being the kind soul she was, she rescued me. So brave, so beautiful. She was something else.
I'll eat all the chocolates stashed away in your closet if you go.
I can get more. Just don't go complaining to me if you get a tummy ache because of that.
Well, you don't want to get detention on a weekend, do you? It's a Friday. We can go to town and have some karaoke. And we can have a go at druids and demons again. You're not going to miss that just because of Maeve, are you?
Sometimes I question what I did to deserve a friend like her. In the darkest corners of my mind, where traitorous thoughts lurked, I thought she only felt sorry for me. Maybe she was just being a good Samaritan, offering a helping hand. And perhaps I'd been too selfish to return the favor.
You have a point. I'll just kick her arse on Monday then.
That's not what I mean.
I know what you mean, Em.
Wait, where are you going? You just told me you wouldn't cause trouble.
I still have something to do. Don't worry. It's not like I'm going to burn down her dorm room or something criminal like that. I'm just going to talk to her. Maybe I'll make it so that her room smells like a dog's air biscuit. That'll make it an excellent weekend. I'll see you in a bit, Marion. Lots of tumblers.
Because when she told me that she loved me, I couldn't admit that I felt the same way. Not to her and not even to myself. It was wrong. I was taught that way, husband and wife, one man and woman. Unclean, impure. I prayed for her and I, for our sins and salvation. I wanted to apologize for disregarding her feelings so callously. It must have been like a slap to the face for her. But life had gotten in the way. Exams, which were trivial in hindsight now, took top priority. I had to keep my grades up to keep my scholarship for my father. I told myself I would apologize to her when those were over, and that I needed to focus first and not let anything distract me. It had been easy when she avoided me like the plague. She was upset, I got that. Ugh. I thought I had the time to make things right, but...
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th year dead. Assumed to have fallen from her dormitory window.
They told us that it was an accident. That was the official statement. But I knew better. She was dead because of me.
Maeve had a hook and I kicked the bucket, didn't she? Ding dong, the witch is dead!
She had, though. She didn't say which. Lorraine.
But at least Maeve had the courage to admit how she felt about me.
I don't even know how long I'd been stuck here in a trance. In the mirror, Lorraine smiles at me. She's as beautiful as I remember. But then... Ooh. I feel bile rise up in my throat as her clean image warps into how she looked when they found her dead, lying on the cold, hard ground. Good Saint Dimphna, I think. Great wonder worker in every affliction of the mind and body. Help me. I'm seeing things, hearing things. Am I going completely insane? Looking everywhere but at her, I hope and pray it's enough to will whatever this is to go away. It doesn't even immediately register in my head that I can just leave.
You, on the other hand, can't even look me in the eye.
This isn't real. You're not. You're dead!
I'm dead. Because of you. And you won't even look at me.
Oh, that gives me chills.
Look at me.
My breathing quickens and I can feel my heart being torn apart by her words.
I'm so sorry, Lorraine.
Look at me!
I can't take it because she's right. It was my fault. The least I can do is look at what I've done. Lorraine, broken and bleeding, looks at me with such hate-filled eyes. An unnatural smile stretches across her face, and I can only see malice in it. Oh shit! Then she lunges as the mirror ripples around her form, the glass parting like the water's surface for her. She grips my shoulders and I can feel her nails digging deep, sharp even through the fabric of my clothes.
There you are.
Ugh.
You're coming with me.
Oh. I don't know what that... I screwed up. Alright, let's try this again.
You're coming with me.
Oh, I gotta do it really fast. Alright, let me get my hands ready.
You're coming with me.
Damn it! Damn it! Oh, I almost had it. Fuck. I suck. Ah!
Coming with me.
Damn it.
Coming with me.
Ah! I'm gonna kill you.
You're coming with me.
Ah, really?
Coming with me.
Oh, bitch.
You're coming with me.
Oh, I don't like you.
Coming with me.
I'm gonna break my keyboard.
You're coming with me.
Damn it.
Why don't you love me?
Oh my god, that took forever. Apologies spill through my lips and tears cloud my vision. But I won't give in to this madness. With every bit of strength I have left, I struggle to get away from her. Fear grips and threatens to choke me. I endure, I escape. Without turning back, I stumble back out. In my panic, I don't even care to look where I'm going. With one hand on the wall to steady me, I just hobble as fast as I can get away from the study. Away from that mirror. Freedom is bittersweet. I'm free from the madness, it seems, as running out in the hallway reveals it to be in pristine condition. But it means I've turned my back on Lorraine again. I have no plans of stopping, not until I know I'm safe. And if that means walking back to Luxborn, as ridiculous as the idea is, then so be it. Someone suddenly grabs a hold of me, however. Fingers digging into my shoulders and my heart nearly stops. My body seizes and I nearly scream.
Marianne, you look awful. I mean, not awful, but did something happen? Are you all right?
Mrs. Wright,
Without thinking, I sought comfort seeing that it wasn't her. It was a sudden, impulsive thing to do, and had I been in a better condition, I wouldn't even dare doing such a thing. But I didn't know what else to do. Though I know I shouldn't have. Her warmth, her scent, they grounded me. She is intoxicating.
Marianne, what's going on? Oh, you're shaking like a leaf.
Tremors run through my body as soon as my mind realized I'm no longer in danger. I wanted to cry, scream about what I had seen, but like a scared child, I couldn't control myself. My mind couldn't reconcile what I had seen. I should just write it off as a figment of my imagination, yet I can still feel her nails cutting into my skin.
Are you sick? Should I call for a doctor?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Wright. Just feeling a little woozy and lightheaded is all.
Let's get you somewhere to sit down then. Come on, don't worry, I have you.
A lie, but a whole lot less complicated than telling her I was attacked by a dead girl. When the feeling of fear eases off, I feel nothing but shame for my actions. I quickly back away as I clear my throat and nod my thanks.
I think I've had enough looking around. If it's all right with you and Mr. Wright, I'll meet you outside.
If you're sure, I'll have the car started. Do you need assistance heading downstairs?
I'm all right, ma'am. Just go on ahead and I'll be right there.
It seems to placate her worries, though only for a brief second. Before she heads down, I don't miss the concerned glance she shoots my way, hidden quickly underneath another smile. I won't begrudge her for it, that worry. The look on my face must have been strange enough to sight on its own. Even I am still reeling from whatever that was. Her voice still whispers in my ear. After all these years, she's still... No, Marianne. Shaking my head of the thoughts, I drag in a breath and follow shortly after Mrs. Wright. Whatever has happened in the past is long gone, only memories now. And those are things I can no longer bring back. Okay, we're going to cut this episode here because we're way in. I'm way over time than I wanted to be, so... if you like it, hit the like button, leave me a comment below if you want to. Be nice to one another, and we'll meet in the next video. See you guys.